Week 11 in the books. 3 weeks left of the regular season. Pretty down-scoring week across the league. A lot of teams on bye. A lot of star performers not playing. This week went about as poor for me as it possibly could have, with Omar winning, Sean beating me real bad, Char winning, and me getting loser of the week. So I went from a 2-game lead to now not even being in first place. We'll get into it like we always do. Predictions, you'll see here, went 3-2 this last week. Not picking myself was the correct call. Got the Jack Sammy game wrong. Got the Sky Char game wrong. Although Sky's team actually looked decent for his standards. I think he was 5th in scoring this week, which is definitely progress for him. Standings, talked a little bit about it already, but here's the full picture. Like I said, we're 3 weeks out. Sky alone at the bottom, sitting at 3-8. Then we got Jack and Noto 4-7 out of the playoff picture. Sammy, the last team out, at 5-6, and then we have 3 teams at 6-5 with Chad, Stern, and Char, and then 3 teams at 7-4 with Sean, me, and Omar. And that is the reverse order. So the league's pretty wide open, honestly, going into the last 3 weeks. Like, Sky is not guaranteed to get last place. He could win out. Noto or Jack could lose out. The playoffs aren't officially set. Like, yes, if you're at the 7-win mark, you're probably going to make playoffs. But, like, crazy things have happened. Like, nothing's set in stone. So everything is up for grabs. But let's get into the matchups for this last week, shall we? Our first matchup was Sammy and Jack. I got this one wrong. Sammy wins by a score of 121-94. Sammy, 121, was middle of the pack for scoring this week. Like I said, it was a down week. We had 3 teams not break 100, or 4 teams not break 100 this week. And honestly, this was really the first week. I looked at the trade I made with Sammy and went, you probably shouldn't have made that trade. If you remember, Sammy got Chase Brown and George Kittle for me, and I got Kenneth Walker, who I later traded for Genti, and Quinton Johnson, who I did not even play this week and literally didn't record a catch. So QJ's value has fallen off a cliff. I was very concerned about Kittle with his hamstring. He's obviously back to form now, scoring 24 points. Who got it done for Sammy? Kittle and Chase Brown were 2 of his leading scorers this week with 24 and 18 points respectively. Nico with 24. He's looked much better with Davis Mills at the helm. He gets another week of that with CJ out for Thursday Night Football as the Texans take on the Bills. Rico Dowdle looked good with 15. And then after that, it kind of fell off a little bit for Sammy. Aaron Rodgers with 9 points, TK with 9 points, Devontae only with 1 catch. Where was that last week? Then the Falcons D, negative 1 point. So I mentioned that I had started them in another league. I did it previously in the season. I didn't think they'd get dunked on by Carolina like they did the first time. They got dunked on by Carolina again. Bryce Young gets a win there. The Falcons season is done. Penix is injured. Drake London's going to miss some time. So Sammy, obviously, losing Drake London is pretty bad, especially when you just gave up Jahmyr Gibbs to get him. He, in his last 5, has scored 31, 8, 38, 24, and 18. So that he'd been playing really well. It's definitely a bummer for Sammy. Hopefully he gets Jackson Dart back this week. We don't even know if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, but it's looking like getting rid of Lamar was actually the right call because Lamar didn't look great this last week either. On Jack's side of the matchup, again, I talked about it last week. He traded for Baker Mayfield and didn't start him. Baker was 16, Caleb with 10. Would have broken 100 if that was the case. Wouldn't have been enough for the win. What happened? No one broke 20 for Jack. Diggs was his best player with 19 points on Thursday Night Football, and no one else besides him even broke 15. So just pretty meh across the board. Saquon with 10, Javonte with 10, Jalen Waddle with 8, or Brock Bowers with 14, Goddard with 4, Wandale with 7. The Texans defense looked good with 10. But just bad. Not great. Wasn't even the lowest scorer this week, thanks to me. But not 94 points. You're rarely going to win a game scoring 94 points. And this was a tough one. Like I said, this was basically a must-win for both these teams. Jack's going to have to go 3-0 the rest of the way if he's going to make the playoffs. But right now, he's way closer to getting that last place than he is to make the playoffs. So I'm sure Jack's going to want to squeak out another win or two to make sure that this guy can't surpass him. But it's going to be close. It's going to come down to the wire for sure. Sammy, even with the Drake London injury, obviously, I think feels good about his team. Maybe. Obviously, would feel a lot better if Drake London wasn't hurt. How can you trust Jordan Addison with J.J. McCarthy back there looking as bad as he does? But I feel like if I'm Sammy, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at compared to where I was like 4 weeks ago when I just couldn't get a dub. Sammy, 5-6 in 7th place. Jack, 4-7 in 9th. Second matchup, Char and Sky. Char 170, Sky 119. Bit of a shellacking here. I got this one wrong as well. It actually could have been worse. Char had the Cowboys defense and pulled them with it out of hand. So gave Sky that makes it worse. I feel like getting the defense pulled on you, doesn't want the free points. Tough one for sure. Sky actually was better in scoring for that he has been this year. Obviously, Woody Marks lets him down once again. Quinshon has been pretty bad. Honestly, since Dylan Gabriel really took over his last 3, 4, 10, and 5 points, and 3 2 weeks prior to that. So hasn't broken 10 4 out of the last 5 weeks. Not really what you want for someone that you did not want to trade under any circumstance. Who got it done for Sky this week? It was basically Trey McBride and Debo getting it done for him. That was about it. Trey with 27, Debo with 20, CeeDee Lamb with 17, dropped the walk-in touchdown, which cost me my other fantasy matchup, so thanks, CeeDee, you freaking scrub. Juwan Jennings with 9 points, Raven Decent with 11, RJ Harvey disappointed a little bit. He did make the wrong call quarterback. I thought he was going to play Dak. He went with Stafford. It wouldn't have made a difference. It was an 11-point swing. He left Tyron Tracy on the bench in favor of Woody Marks and Quinshon. Tyron Tracy with 17. Woody and Quinshon with 6 and 5, as I already talked about. But he could have made all the right decisions and he still wouldn't have won. So take some solace in that, Sky. On Char's side of the matchup, who got it done for him? Josh Allen. Josh Allen and CMC and Tet. 42, 35, and 33. Aaron Jones was just fine with 11 points. Puka actually has not been as good over the past couple weeks. I was reading somewhere that they changed their scheme for like a different personnel set, and Puka's numbers have been down since they did that. So obviously, you have Puka, you're happy to have him, but you want him to go back to what he was doing at the beginning of the year for sure. Igbuka only with 9, a little bit disappointing from him, and then K-Dot only with 4 as well. So both of Char's Bucks players disappointed. It really didn't matter. Josh Allen had 42 points, and Ted had 33. So that's going to get done for you. He could have just played Josh Allen, CMC, JSN, and Tet, and he would have won. So it didn't matter. Char, back to his cocky old self, looking like a wagon again. He started K-Dot over Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews over the past couple weeks has actually been pretty solid or 3 weeks, 16, 10, and 15. So maybe Char just goes back to Mark Andrews with Lamar at the helm. We'll see, right? It's Char. He's the highest scoring team in the league, but he's sitting at 6 and 5 in 4th place, and Sky, with Noto winning this week, stays alone at the bottom, 3 and 8, 10th place. Matchup 3, Corndog and Stern. Stern gets a win here, 123 to 98. And if you were paying attention to this matchup, I think Omar sent a text saying that Noto was putting the work to Stern early on, and that was definitely the case. That first quarter of the Sunday games at 1, I think Noto was up like 78 to 1. Noto scored about 20 more points after Omar sent that text, and Stern obviously went on to win. So maybe Omar jinxed him. Herbert looked atrocious, only with 3 points. Mahomes only with 13 on his bench, but you take the extra 10 points for sure. Bijan with a third of... So Bijan and Trevion had 30 and 32 combined, and then one other person had double digits, and then no one else had double digits on Noto's team. So A.J. Brown with 11, everyone else single digits, defense with negative 1 points. So very, very bad for Noto this week. And I say that as someone who only scored 78 points. Noto had 2 guys break 30, and that was 60% of his points, a little more than that. So tough for sure. On Stern's side of the matchup, who got it done for him this week? George Pickens on Monday Night Football. 29 points, looking like the wide receiver 1 in Dallas. James Cook with 20, got in the end zone. Amon-Ra, I think, dropped like 6 catches. Jared Goff did not look good. That was a really ugly game for the Lions. Zay Flowers with 11, Drake Ferguson with 11, Bam Knight with 14. Jalen was just okay with 14. But you got to be happy with Kenneth Walker on the bench for sure. Kenneth Walker with 20 points. He has not been very good this year. Ever since Stern traded for him, 9, 4, 6, 8, 8, 20. So, you got to hope that the Seahawks realize he's their best running back. They give him the ball more. If his usage stays high, he should be pretty good. He started the Broncos defense against Kansas City, which was surprising, but they got 7 points to Noto's negative 1 point. So more power to you, Stern. Stern gets a much-needed win here. He had lost 4 in a row, so he gets back in the win column. He's at 6 and 5 in 5th place. Noto drops to 4 and 7 in 8th. He's going to have to win out if he's going to make the playoffs. Matchup 4, Omar and Chad. Our lowest combined scoring matchup. I think I said that this was going to be the lowest combined scoring matchup, and it was. Omar 111, Chad to 90. Pretty performance between the two of these guys. I understand that everyone's be like, Jared, you scored 78 points. Where do you get off? I was worse than mid. I was straight up garbage this week. On Omar's side, he got the win, 21 points, was absolutely tweaking out, saying that he was going to get Michael Wilson to death when he was up by like 30 the whole time. So, it is what it is. He's not going to be upset coming away with a win for sure, but very unhappy with Lamar's performance, definitely. Only 4 points. Lab McConkey with 4 points. Jamar with 6 and suspended next week, so that's tough. Who got it done for him? It was Derrick Henry, Travis Kelce, Travis Etienne getting in the end zone twice, and Gibbs. Honestly, Omar was kind of saved with Tootin getting hurt. It looked like Tootin had kind of taken over the lead back role, at least in the red zone for the first half of that game. He gets the angle rolled up on. Travis Etienne gets in the end zone twice after that. So, Odunze was pretty bad. Again, he's going to be a boomer bust play, I think, from here on out. He's either real solid or real bad. And he's got a pretty low floor, only 6 points. Was like 20 last week and then 0 the week before. So, I don't know what you do with Rome Odunze if you're Omar. But this upcoming week, he's got a bunch of players on bye and Jamar suspended, so he's going to be in the lineup for sure. On Chad's side, what went wrong? Everyone except Michael Wilson and Christian Watson. Tyler Warren was on bye. Marvin Harrison didn't play. Alec Pierce was on bye. Juwan Johnson was on bye. Cortland Sutton was on the bench with 9 points. Josh Jacobs gets hurt. Joe Flacco did not look great, only 9 points. Jaylen Warren only with 8 points. It was the Kenneth Gainwell show this week. Tez Johnson with only 1 catch. Zach Ertz was just okay, and then Vidal crouching back down to earth with 3 points. So he alternates the games. So he does well on. It was 22-7, 19-3, 17-3. So he's on bye this week, and then the Chargers might be getting Omar and Hampton back. So that might be the end of Vidal for this year, and I'm sure Chad wants off the roller coaster anyway. But Omar, first place. He overtakes me on points because of my disaster this week. 111 points was enough for him to, 1, get a win, and 2, slide into that first place role. So Omar, congratulations. You sit alone at the top, or not alone at the top. You sit at the top right now, along with me and Sean. 7-4 in first place, and Chad drops to 6-5 in sixth place. Our last matchup, me and Sean, this went about as poorly, an injury to a player aside, as this literally could have went for me. 78 points. The first time all year I didn't break 100, didn't break 90, didn't break 80, proving that we really are Jonathan Taylor merchants. Just looking at the scores all weekend, really wishing I had Chase Brown and George Kittle back, but just atrocious all around. I did not think after Thursday Night Football with Drake May scoring 15 points that he was going to be my leading scorer for the week, and he was. 15.44 from Drake. Him and T. Higgins were the only two people that scored any types of touchdowns for me the whole week. Dave Montgomery with 4 points. Genty with 9 points. They carried the ball 6 times. Troy Franklin was fine with 12 points. Ricky Pearsall had 1 catch for 0 yards. Pat Freiermuth, the other tight end for the Steelers, Darnell Washington, ended up with the 10 points. So that was pretty annoying, honestly. I had shares of basically everyone in the Steelers offense except for Kenneth Gainwell across my leagues this week. So that was a pretty frustrating game to watch, especially because Sean had the Steelers defense who scored twice. So none of that mattered. I mean, he beat me by 50 points. This was not a close game by any factor, but definitely frustrating that the Packers couldn't get a pick six on Jameis. That was what I was kind of hoping for. Should have obviously just went with the Browns, who I stashed for this week. They had 16 points, but there was nothing I could have done. Even I would have played all the right players. I don't even think I'm breaking 100 this week. Like, it was that bad. It was real bad, fellas. At least I made the right play, not playing Quentin Johnson. I've learned if he has an injury designation, don't put him in the lineup. He had the shin pop up, and that was the correct call, leaving him on the bench. Sean's side of the matchup, another gritty win for Sean. Second highest in scoring this week, 133 points. Who got done for him? Steelers defense was his leading scorer, as I said, 22 points. Devon Achane looked good on the early morning game against the Commies. Kyra got in the end zone. Jamison Williams looks to be the new wide receiver 1 in Detroit with Maga St. Brown looking horrible. Romeo Dubes was just okay. Jordan Love looked good. Schultz looked really good in not garbage time because it was a close game, but at the end he basically was the only receiver catching passes. And then Devontae Adams only had 1 catch, but it was for a touchdown. So, Sean gets a sweep on me for the year, and that's how it goes. A bad week for the fellas. But tip our cat to our friend Sean. Absolutely schmacked me both performances this year. Neither was close. I think Sean probably beat me by an aggregate score of about 100 points in our 2 matchups this week. So that's a tough one for sure, but we get Jonathan Taylor back. We're looking ahead. We're trying to get back in that first place bye position, but we can only take it a day at a time. 133-78 was the final. Sean moves up to 7-4 in third place. I dropped to 7-4 in second. And that wraps our matchups for the week. But we do have our winner and loser of the week. We'll hear from our winner first, like we normally do. Char, back on top. Our most humble friend, Alexander. What do you have to say this time?
All right. What's up, fellas? It's Sunday night when I'm recording this. It's about halfway through the second quarter in the Eagles-Lions game, and it's pretty fucking bad, so I'm just going to film this now because I know I am the winner of the week this week based off everything I'm seeing. To the people who did not think I'd be making another video, you're wrong. To the people who think I won't be making another video this year as a winner of the week, you're going to be wrong as well. My team is better than all of yours, and I don't know how I'm not first, but I don't care because I keep winning money, and if I pay off $100 after 5 winner of the weeks, I'll take it. So I'll probably see you guys again. Bye.
Cocky as always, but 170 points, that gets you winner of the week, that gets you $20. I think that was your 4th winner of the week. I'm not sure if it was your 5th, but if it was your 5th and you've already recouped your buy-in, more power to you. It is nice playing for free when you have other people pay for your buy-in. Am I right, Omar? But Char, yes, talking very loud for someone who's sitting in 4th place right now. But again, more power to you. I'm sure we'll be seeing you again if you feel confident enough to say that. On the flip side, our loser of the week, myself. I'm going to kick it to me here. Me, what do you have to say for that atrocious performance? What's up, fellas? Loser of the week, 78 points. Nothing went well. You just heard me talk about it, but now it's time for the loser of the week video. Just lost in a men's league game by like 5 points too, so we're just taking L's all around. We hope, this is our first video of the year. We've been winner of the week 0 times, loser of the week 1 time. We're in 2nd place, but that doesn't bode well looking at the stats for the end of the year. About top 3 in scoring, but we're definitely a Jonathan Taylor merchant at this juncture. We might need to shake up the locker room. I know I say this every week, but we gotta get in the lab. We gotta pester Sammy. Maybe we pester Sky, even though he refuses to even acknowledge anything about me. We maybe hit up Chad, but all of his guys are dead, and that's been tough sledding for him. But lots of L's this week, lots of L's for sure. Gonna get a good night's sleep. We're gonna mull it over, make some waiver claims, and hopefully we won't be making another loser of the week video again. Tough sledding for sure, but that's in the past, and we're on to the future. Even though we didn't get our first 3 waiver claims, we're looking ahead. Let's get into our matchups, shall we? First matchup, we got Stern and Char coming in. These two teams have not played each other yet. Our only matchup where the guys have not played each other. Char comes in at a 30-point favorite, 150 to 120. Stern has not set his lineup, though. He does have the Broncos defense still in, who's not playing. He has Kenneth Walker on the bench, who's projected for more points than Bam Knight. He'll be making some changes. There's also a trade waiting for him in his inbox. We'll see if he accepts it. You never know. I've sent a bunch of people trades out. If you're seeing this, you probably either already rejected the trade or you're ignoring it, but that's not what we're here to talk about for this piece right here. Char comes in a 30-point favorite. He does have Mark Andrews plugged into the lineup. I mentioned this already in the video, how Mark Andrews has outscored, I think, the tight end last week. Obviously, Dalton Kincaid did better 2 weeks ago, but Mark Andrews looks to be serviceable. If Aaron Jones can stay healthy, I think Char for sure has the best team in the league. It's just, you're not really beating someone with CMC, JSN, Puka, and if Tet's breaking out, he had 30 points last week. Book has been very solid. He's averaging 150 points a week based off of what he has in right here, and he's got the Jaguars defense going up against Jacoby Brissett. That play is good on paper. We'll see. Brissett was slinging it last week. I think he broke the NFL record for most completions, which is crazy. So we'll see. I know the Cardinals are going to be without MHJ and DeMarcado once again. They did activate Trey Benson off IR, so it's an interesting defensive play. We'll see if Char sticks with it. He does have the Rams D on the bench, but I don't think he plays them against the Bucks. On Stern's side of the matchup, hard to say because he hasn't fully set his lineup. But I would imagine he puts in Kenneth Walker. He probably takes out Bam Knight, as I mentioned. Probably going to be projected for around 130 points this week, which would be good for upper half of the league from a projection standpoint, but he is unfortunately playing our league's top scorer. This is a very big matchup for the standings. Both these teams at 6 and 5 and 4th and 5th place with Char, the former there. So this is a big matchup. You're either 7 and 5, you're probably tied for first place at this point, assuming me, Char, or Sean loses, or you're at 6 and 6 and you're in that, you're basically out of the bye conversation if you lose this game. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. But it's a big game. Char comes in a 30-point favorite. I do think Char takes this one. He's been hot. He's been on a roll. So I think he was winner of the week last week. We'll see if he does it again, but I do think he's going to take this one. Our next matchup is Sammy and Sean. These two teams played in week 3. Sammy won by a score of 166 to 104. Sean is currently at 7 and 4 in third place. Sammy at 5 and 6 in seventh. In seventh. So he's right outside the playoff picture right now. Sean does have Devon Akane on bye this week. That's tough for sure. Chris Rodriguez on bye as well. That doesn't really matter as much. Sammy's a full go outside of Drake London. That is obviously a pretty big bummer losing him. Right now, he does have the Falcons defense plugged in. I think he played them last week, and they got the -1 point. He's rolling with them again against the Saints this week. I know the Saints aren't good, but we'll see how the Falcons look without Penix and Drake London. I don't imagine they're going to be too fired up. And also, they're 3 and 8 and don't even have their first-round draft pick. Tough sledding for sure. But Sammy does come in at about a 12-point favorite. With all that being said, 129 to 117 is the projections here. Sean actually comes in at one of the lower projections this week, which I think has been typical, but he normally outperforms his projections because he's got a bunch of guys that are full of grit in this locker room here. Sean, like I said, we already talked about, shafted me last week, but Akane's on bye this week. I think Jameson Williams, that trade for Shaheed, probably the fleece of the year if we're looking at it. Shaheed has just been super irrelevant on the Seahawks offense since he went there, and J-Mo is quietly taken over the wide receiver 1 role over the past couple weeks with Omar fading into irrelevancy. Ever since J-Mo's 0 burgers, 16, 23, and 19 points, that was after Omar traded him to Sean. So those 1-to-1 swaps, looking like some of them might be useless with the Ricky Pearsall and Travis Hunter going back and forth, but the Jameson Williams, Rashid Shaheed looking like a major win for Sean, and one that he very much needed with how many injuries he had this year. He did get Darnell Mooney off of the waivers after Sky dropped him. He was Darnell Mooney, drafted in the 9th round by Chad, picked up and dropped by me, picked up and dropped by Sky, picked up by Sean. So it's the 4th owner that Darnell Mooney's found this year. He's like the only healthy pass catcher left for the Falcons with Kirk Cousins at the helm now. But we'll see, man. That might be like a 10-3 game. That's going to be ugly. On Sammy's side, I mentioned it, losing Drake London sucks a lot. He does get Tuden off of the waivers. I was pretty annoyed he put in a claim for him. I didn't think anyone else was going to. Chase Brown, I don't think he has a good week this week against the Patriots, but after this week, he's got a pretty good schedule moving forward. But for this week's purposes, not super high on him. He does potentially get Jackson Dart this week, but Detroit's defense is getting a bunch of their players back, so that's not a great matchup for him. Rico Dowdle should be solid. Nico Collins has been so much better with C.J. Stroud being injured. Since Davis Mills took over, 22 and 24 points. So he's been much, much better. Kittle's been awesome. DK's been just okay. Devontae's been very hit or miss. And then Trey Benson. Sammy would love to get him back this week. I think it's going to be a good matchup. I don't think it's going to be the highest scoring matchup. I'm going to slot this in at like the 3rd highest scoring matchup. It's going to be gritty. I do think even though Sean comes in at a 12-point dog here, I think he takes this one, gets the revenge from the week 3 shafting that Sammy laid on him, and cements himself in that first place conversation. I think Sean takes this one. 3rd matchup, we got Chad and Jack. Right now, Jack comes in at a 32-point favorite, but that is large in part to the fact that it does not look like Chad has set his lineup. He does have Josh Jacobson, who's projected for 0 points. I'm actually not sure if Josh is going to play this week. LaFleur said he's day-to-day, but we all know how we feel about LaFleur in this chat. I would take a minute to say happy birthday to Chad. Chad, you've been a great add to the league. It's been great to have you. Sitting at 6 and 5 in the playoff picture in your inaugural year. We love it. Happy birthday, my guy. We'll do Chad's side first. I already talked about Josh Jacobs a little bit. Jaylen Warren didn't practice today. My gut tells me that he's going to end up playing this week. And today was a rest day and that he'll be trotted out there, but I could be wrong. Chad really doesn't have any options, I'm being honest. Josh Jacobs, if he doesn't play, Jaylen Warren, he doesn't play, I don't think he has another running back he can play this week. Vidal's on bye, and there's no other running backs on his roster. So he might be mega screwed here if those two guys can't go, for sure. Alec Pierce, I think, was a great pickup. Obviously, Chad, I've been texting you about what you want for him because I think that like I said, that was a good waiver wire pickup. And then Tyler Warren's been awesome, too. Michael Wilson with the 30-burger last week in MHJ's absence. So, Chad's staying in it by making these waiver moves when he's got some people that die. But, he's also got the Colts D against Kansas City. So, my gut tells me that he hasn't set his lineup yet. I forgot to mention these two teams did play previously 124-87. Chad won week 4. I think that was actually his first win of the season. He started 0-3, got that one win. So big time to get Jack back on the schedule for him. Jack sitting at 4-7. He's got to win out if he's going to make playoffs. It's do or die time right now. He's going with Caleb over Baker once again. Saquon, Javonte, Diggs, Olave, Bowers, Goddard. Wandale, he's definitely going to hope that he gets Dart back this week, but Jameis is fun. He wasn't really looking for Wandale, it felt like last week. He is going with the Texans defense against the Bills. I'm a little surprised to see that. I know the Texans defense has been really, really good, but they play Thursday night against Buffalo. Not sure if Jack has set his lineup yet, honestly, looking at this, but if he has, more power to him for rolling him out there. Just by looking at the availability that we have for guys being able to play football, especially if Christian Watson is one of your starters and is one of your healthy guys, you're in trouble for sure. I think Jack takes this one, keeps himself out of that last place position. Chad, I think, loses this one, could be slipping out of the playoff picture. But happy birthday. All right, matchup 4. We got Corndog and Omar. Right now, Corndog does not have a defense in. He still comes in at a 10-point favorite. That's how rough Omar's lineup is looking this week. These two teams did play previously. Noto won by a score of 152-107 in week 4. He comes in 126-116 projection. Like I said, he does not plug in his defense yet, who is the Seahawks against Tennessee. So he's going to come in about a 17-point favorite here. On Noto's side of the matchup, he's got Mahomes. Herbert's on bye, so we can't start him. So no Herbert. That's about it. That's the only thing that affects him this week for buys or injuries. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins is out. But the emergence of Trevion Henderson, Ramondre's absence will fit in very nicely for Noto this week. Bijan, he hopes he gets Bucky back. He really needs Bucky back, or he's got to start probably Jacoby Myers this week, or he goes with Rashad White, but Rashad did not look to be the guy to have in that backfield last week, so we'll see. A.J. Brown against Dallas, Rashee Rice against the Colts, Kyle Pitts, one of the only 2 healthy path catchers for the Atlanta Falcons, then Khalil Shakir, who just had a kid, so he's probably going to score this week. You can book that one. I'd take the over on whatever Khalil Shakir's anything is this upcoming weekend. They just had a kid yesterday. And then Seahawks defense against Tennessee. Yeah, that's a solid play for sure. Omar's side of the matchup, I talked about how his team's just depleted right now. Jamar Chase suspended, Ladd on bye, Keenan Allen on bye. He doesn't have Travis Etienne in, which I feel like he's just messing with me if he doesn't have him in. And he's starting Andre Iosivas and my boy Keyshawn Boutte over him and Rashid Shaheed. Yeah, he's got to be messing with me. That would just be wild. But anyway, let's get into who we have here. He's got 2 Ravens coming up against the Jets this week. It is dangerous to go all in on the Ravens offense, who's been very, very hit or miss this year. I know Lamar's missed time, but especially it's just a dangerous game to play, for sure. Boutte, love that guy, but you're hoping he catches a deep touchdown. He's not going to be peppered with targets. He gets a couple a game, and you hope he breaks a 50-yarder. Iosivas, I guess, is the wide receiver 2 now for the Bengals with Jamar Chase being out this week. So that's basically just a very equal replacement there. Rashid Shaheed, what are we doing? Odunze, very hit or miss, like I talked about, he's fine. And then the Pats D against Cincinnati. I like that play. However, Joe Burrow did practice today. So if he comes back this week, I will be very interested to see if Omar keeps the Patriots defense in. We'll see. That'd be great for Bengals pass catchers in general, but not great for Omar's Patriots defense stocks. So Omar did text me that he's fielding the 2014 St. James JV soccer team out here. Those Flint Hill guys, you remember how atrocious St. James was at soccer. They put all of their effort into basketball. So I can attest that is kind of what this lineup looks like. It does not look great. I am going to take Noto to win here. I know Omar texted me and said, if you pick me, you're going to be wrong. And I think Omar's right. He's a smart guy. It's going to be tough for him to get a win here. Right now, he sits at 7-4 in first place. Noto at 4-7, trying to avoid that last place. And he gets a great matchup this week with Omar's team being depleted. I do think Noto takes this one. Last matchup, me and Sky. We did play in week 3. I won by a score of 125-82. I come in at a 20-point favorite right now, 143-122. So Sky's actually pretty middle of the pack with projections this week. He did get Emmanuel Wilson off the waivers. We'll see if he plays. Obviously, he's going to play this week, but we'll see if Josh Jacobs plays this week. That's going to be the biggest, probably swing in our matchup if he gets Emmanuel Wilson or if it's just the Josh Jacobs show again. He does have Debo on bye this week, who has been very solid for him. He also has Gadsden on bye this week, who's been pretty solid for him too. So he's impacted by the bye a little bit this week. He's got BTJ back in the lineup. We'll see if he plays this week. Even when he plays, he hasn't been great. So he was limited to practice today. We'll see if he plays. He's got Matt Stafford in over Dak. We'll see about that. I know Matt's projected for more Sunday Night Football game, but Dak's been balling for sure. He's got Juwan Jennings, who I dropped, so that's a little revenge game for Juwan here. Woody Quinshon hasn't been great over the past couple weeks. I think I say this every week. I'm like, yeah, he hasn't been great, but he hasn't been great. 4, 10, and 5 over the past couple weeks. And then CeeDee Lamb and Trey McBride are obviously his 2 best players. His defense, he doesn't have one. Sky does not have a defense right now, so I think he's debating who he's going to drop. He just wanted to do some waivers. If I had to guess, I would assume he's going to drop Chris Godwin or Jerry Jeudy, but I really don't know. I don't know. On my side of the matchup, we get all of our guys back off of the bye. Obviously, Quentin Johnson and Troy Franklin are on bye. We're not as upset about QJ, but Troy Franklin, sitting at the wide receiver 24 in the year, has been a very consistent producer for us. That was a nice little waiver wire pickup there. Drake May against the Bengals, that's a really, really good matchup. We're happy about that. Jonathan Taylor against Kansas City isn't great, but he's JT. GNT has not been great, and he does not have a favorable matchup going against Cleveland this year, but he's still the running back 13 on the year. So that's fine. Pittman has been very good. T. Higgins, I'm pretty pumped for this week with Jamar being out. Hunter Henry against the Bengals, very excited about that matchup. And then Justin Jefferson, 9 is just atrocious, so that's been tough to have JJ this year for sure. And then right now we got David Montgomery in. We might plug in Ricky P for him, but Dan Campbell said they want to get David Montgomery more touches, and I trust him. So I'm also doing the thing I hate doing, which is starting my defense against one of my skilled players. I did this earlier this year against Sean the first time I played him. It did not work out well for me, but I don't know. We're just going to rock with it. We're going to rock with it. Maybe we pick up someone else, but this is what we're doing right now. So it is what it is. I come in at a 20-point favorite. And, I'm not going to say these are must-wins for either of us, but we both really want these games for different reasons. For me, we were 7-2. We squandered a 2-game lead. We're right in the mix of things now. Char's hot in our tail. We're tied with Sean and Omar for first. We really want that bye. So we really want to. We don't want to be losing the 10th place team. Sky, on the other hand, if he loses this game, he's got to win his last 2 to even have a chance of not getting last place. So this is a must win for Sky. This is a I'd like to win game for me. I'm gonna pick myself here because I am 7-4 and Sky's 3-8. That's kind of where I get that logic from. But nothing but respect to Sky as always. Just a competitor through and through. Still making those waiver claims. Love to see it. I think that wraps me. That's everyone. That's all the matchups for this week. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for laughing in my face, my loser of the week video. Very, very painful time for me, but, we're just blessed to be part of a great league. Couple birthdays this week. It was Noto's earlier. It's Chad's. Happy birthday to you fellas. Grateful for you all. Grateful for this league. Go Pats, baby.